boxing is because one of a couple of things transpire. Number one, the fighter is bleeding and can't see punches. Or number two, the fighter has had his nervous system shut down from his skill set. And that happens because of one of the most important things that you have to learn when you're training an athlete, that he has to train if he wants to transfer his skills from the gym into the boxing ring on fight night in state stability. So that's what we're going to get into, and we're going to talk about the Zuffa Boxing program.
Yeah. Excuse me. Yes, there was some great boxing on last night. Zuffa brought it around. Nice to see some boxing on Sunday night. And they were very active cards. A lot of action was going down. And I know you have something to say about the main event.
Main event, well, Charles Martin got the opportunity to fight, and the conversation I had with him today was basically what I'm about to explain to you that happened to him. And he messaged me and said that he had been off for like 16 months. This is a direct message, I can screenshot it. And he said that, he's pumped because he already has another fight signed. So the ring rust is a real thing. But what you don't understand is that he's dealing also with what we refer to as being not state regulated. It's state regulation. The way that you have to train is the way you have to fight. When you're fighting someone that has a skill set and has the size pretty much bigger than anyone that you fought since Anthony Joshua, and then go up into that ring and you have that moment where everything, that bandwidth collapses. I tell you, when you're reading a fighter and they're coming at you and you feel the pressure that you have not felt in the gym. Let me recant what happens when you're at a boxing gym.
Go. Tell us what happens. Yep.
Okay, so the gym has headgear. It has 12 people in there maximum, including people who are there as members. There are 16-ounce gloves on. So what you're doing is punching with 1 pound, which is a lot slower than you would on fight night. Now, let me resonate with some of you who have not actually done it. And for those who are trainers, we invite you all in because this segment is specifically for trainers so that you understand how to approach this situation with some of the conversations that you've heard me have, as this day has kind of did a 360 and we talk about what happens when the nervous system gets triggered by cognitive load.
So what did that look? What can that look like, or what did that look like if we were going to talk about Martin's fight?
His fight will, you start watching his structure collapse, meaning there's a moment in that round where he got knocked down where his arms did this, and basically his structure was collapsing because the repetition that he's been up under in the gym did not mirror what he was going to experience on fight night. So therefore the pressure was different, which is going to be, you go from 16-ounce gloves to 10, you go from sparring with headgear to not, you go from 12 people in the arena to 10,000.
That alone, without even a punch being thrown.
Those are equations. When you haven't been in the ring for 16 months, then what you're going to find is when guys get in there, they thought they could mirror every situation, but those components are often overlooked. And so when he starts to frame up and he starts to feel the power, okay, this guy got real power. When he starts to feel the timing, all of those things are being computed in his brain.
Yeah, and what starts happening to him? Describe what was he feeling or experiencing in that moment?
So the first thing that happens is the heart rate spikes. And once the heart rate spikes, then that's what's going to trigger the rest of this. This is where neuroplasticity tries to get into play. And neuroplasticity is the moment that the brain tries to sort out what's going on. So that's why when a person's in chaos, there's a lot of screaming, maybe fireworks, things that make your heart rate spike is triggering that sympathetic nervous system, and it's going into fight or flight. The brain can't grasp onto something that's happening. Therefore, it's chaotic, and the brain hates chaos. So when it can't, then the nervous system says, Trump, it goes into protection mode. And therefore, it shuts off everything that the brain could process. And therefore, you can't do the most simplest of things. So his skills is one of the first things to get stripped. So he starts to do things that are not typical of him.
So what's something that could have been done differently in camp for him then?
Well,
Or as trainers, what should they have been aware of?
the first thing that anybody who trains in boxing, whenever you have an athlete that you have to develop in stages throughout the training camp, that's why they give you 6 weeks, because it's a 6-week pillar of time that you have to develop what you have learned in the off season. That's why you have to live the fight game. So instead of just going into the boxing ring and training every single day, they have to have an area where they are regulating the state in which he's training in. So these are broken down into tiers: tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4. And so each level is a stage higher, more difficult, but they are measured and calculated. And when you're doing those processes with your athlete, every phase of those have to be matched, and they have to be measured. Everything has to be calculated. So pressure, he has to be measured. He can't just go through very smooth training with the mitts.
Or even hard sparring? Like, doesn't that count?
Hard sparring only accumulates and expands and causes cognitive load. So it's working hard does not mean you're getting calculated outcomes.
Interesting.
It's all measured. And so that's why we got the measurement installation process, that program and that training system methods. It takes you through the way you have to do it, and then you instill the skill into you, and then you take it through the progression.
What do you mean by instill the
So
skill?
instilling it is not muscle memory or cognitive memorance, because most people memorize the stuff. You can't memorize and go in there and fight, because once pressure is applied, it goes away. When you instill it, you go past just cognitive and muscle memory, and you instill it into the nervous system.
Interesting.
And so you're installing it into the nervous system because that's the area where it's beta safe. It doesn't matter what happens. Everything that you do now is on autopilot. That's why Floyd Mayweather had so much success. That's why guys like Marvelous Marvin Hagler, they are methodical. And this is why guys that you know currently today, Shakur Stevenson, has so much success in boxing, because he has it instilled in the nervous system layer. And that's why he's so cool and calm under pressure. And that's what it looks like. Just think about when Floyd fought Marcos Maidana, and Marcos was coming with those haymakers. Same style that he had fought Adrian Broner, but Adrian Broner's cognitive bandwidth collapsed.
I remember, yeah.
And he just totally decomposed inside of the ring, straight out of the gate. It said that what's inside of you has not been installed into the nervous system.
Different than skills, because it's interesting. This morning I read, it actually was a quote, I guess, from Agabe, that he said he was actually surprised at how skilled Martin was.
Yeah.
And then ended up, it didn't matter.
It didn't matter because it wasn't installed into the nervous system, because the nervous system says, don't worry, we got you on autopilot. Even when you're dazed, you can still lock in. Look at James Toney. Look at Bernard Hopkins. If you watch those guys, they're always methodical, even when they're in trouble. They always had a game plan because it was stored into their nervous system. So anytime they got in trouble, it was always accessible. But when you don't have it into the nervous system, the first thing that happens is it gets shut off at the axis point. So that's what I saw that night.
Yeah, and I think it happened in a couple of the other bouts too. There were some significant KOs on that card.
It was
So
significant KOs, and we did a couple of videos, reels, little shorts that you can go and listen to a breakdown as I broke it down exactly what had happened in the fight. And we are not just a media channel. We're not covering boxing. What we're doing is giving you guys insight and enlightenment on what goes on in the world of the brain and the nervous system, and what happens when fighters don't have proper installation. So this is why this channel is solely for people who like to hear this stuff, but trainers who are working with fighters that they're trying to develop so that they can create separation in their region to catapult and not plateau, because they're doing the same kinds of skill drills. The difference is they're not installing it into the nervous system, which is a science. And therefore, I've been doing this science for 3 decades exactly. Therefore, I understand the process. It's not your fault. It's not an easy game. You have to learn things on a different level. This is skills installation.
Interesting. So it's Monday night, which means tomorrow is Tuesday. So the trainers that you were just talking about, our trainers and our pros, every Tuesday,
Yeah.
we've got the Pressure Performance Clinic. That's coming up tomorrow.
Yeah, the pressure
11.
performance. That's right. It's
Yeah.
great. Anyone, if you're developing athletes and they're transitioning out of the amateurs or they're going into the pros, whatever route they decide to take, and you want to understand the process and the science behind this, then this is where we talk about it and give you a bird's eye view, and then we make you aware, and then we show you how to diagnose it when it's happening to your athlete. And from there, we do the installation process. And then the week after that, because these things happen week after week, then you go and see what happens when they ascend. And so that's what you've been doing, the hard work you've been putting in. And this is what makes it such a crazy good thing. When you understand what you're doing and the finite details that it takes to make sure that your fighter has those skills inside of their nervous system on fight night so it can show up and you don't get knocked out.
That's the optimal outcome, right?
That's the optimal outcome. So that's kind of it. Most of you guys are looking from the outside in the perimeters. And for my trainers, like I said, Tuesdays, 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time is when we do it. The installation clinic is very, like I said, it's second to none. We're currently running the longest fight school that there is on the internet, period.
Yeah.
And what we're doing is making sure that our people stay ahead of the curve, at least 15-year gap. And we're giving you those tools in there. So, and for those of you who work and you can't make it into that, there's the School of Boxing, where you actually can get access to that knowledge and the training systems to implement it to the gym and get directly into installing it into your athlete, because you can't tell a person how to do something like that in a 60-second reel. So if that's you, there's always going to be a link down in the description for you to jump into the School of Boxing. But for those of you who are just hanging tight, thanks for watching. Subscribe, tag your friend who really wants to know that boxing, because we break it down to a very last compound. Coach Bradley, I'm signing out.